My name is Ibejii. I am Nigerian originated. I live in Lagos. I do music, and I love my fans. Thank you for all the support that I get. I have a new song out, Happy Me. Happy Me comes off a project intermission that will be released later in October. Stream Happy Me and all of my songs on Boomplay. Boomplay, that's where to find me. Thank you guys.
Juju, walk on, baby,
Why the name Ibejii? Okay, first the artist was born a twin, and as a Yoruba man, the name Ibejii basically means twin. But also, Ibejii defines the truth of this character. So there's somewhat of a dichotomy between the man and his regular life and the artist who you see before you today. How did Ibejii get into music? Fantastic question. It started as a bit of a dare, actually. Someone who is sitting in this room dared me to sing. I took the dare, went to the studio, and 5.5, 6 years later, we're still here recording, performing, and just enjoying it.
How long have you been doing music?
6 years, just under 6 years. Just under 6 years. How long have I been doing music? Just under 6 years. The style of music that I create. We used to be able to say that we are Afro-retro artists, but I think in truth, it's something between experimental and experiential. So for us, music is about experimenting with sound, global sounds, local sounds, and then ensuring that the experience that we give when we perform live meets the expectations of the audience. So yes, we're Afro-retro artists who like to experiment and to create experiences. I'm influenced by everything. I'm influenced by opera, I'm influenced by classical sound, I'm influenced by Afro beats, I'm influenced by soul, jazz. From a man perspective, I love artists like Michael Jackson. He's a big part of my movement. Marvin Gaye, Pavarotti, Brymo, Thames, Ricardo Banks, Jacob Banks, and it's endless. My musical tastes are as vast as life itself. Future collaborations, great question. We've been asked this a few times. My answer is true to me, and it's probably the easiest one to give, which is that we have a lot of stories to tell. We're still busy telling those stories. I have no doubt that at a certain point we will start to collaborate. But for now, it really is about getting the stories that we have to tell out. Where do I get my inspiration from? I'm inspired by everything. I'm inspired by you, the color of what you're wearing at the moment. I'm inspired by people and the panoply of color, richness of our people. I'm inspired by our cultures. I'm inspired by my own life and the lives of those around me. So every single thing inspires me. Every single thing has a capacity to tell a story. If we just give ourselves a moment to reflect upon it. And I suspect that I do a little bit more reflecting than I should. And so I tell a lot of stories as a result of my reflecting. Challenges with pushing essentially alternative sound. It's been tough. This is a market, like you say, that is dominated by the hip. Yeah, we like to dance, we like to move. But 2020, 2021 have been seasons of reflection. When you hear Thames doing incredibly well in North America and in Europe, it's because this market has allowed her to blossom. So we're reaching a point where even our people who like to do the dance bit are becoming much more reflective than we used to be. And so there's a bigger space for us today than there used to be. So yes, I too love Afro beats, I love Afro sound. I'm a big fan of Wiz and others. But I'm grateful that the space for alternative sound like ours is growing all the time. Do I consider that I would do Afro pop at some point? I like to think that embedded in the sound that we do are elements of Afro pop. Yeah, so I don't think we would ever be deliberate about seeking to do an Afro pop song, but embedded in the creation of the sound is all the elements that make Afro music. And so I consider that I already do some Afro pop. Will I go and be deliberate about Afro pop? Not very likely, no. Wow, great question. My creative process. If I have to be honest, I don't have a creative process. It's a feel thing. When I feel it, I pen it, I put it down on paper, put it down on a voice note, share it with my producer, and it goes where it goes. Sometimes it goes in a structured fashion. Other times, and more likely, it just happens. So I'm not that organized, I confess. Yeah, it just happens. With music, I very rarely get writer's block. But I understand it because I also write. I'm a bit of an author. I write screenplays and so on. I'm going to confess something that I should never say publicly, but where I suffer real performer's block is on stage. So I'm standing there, I'm singing a song, and a line will drop from the song, and I'm trying to find it. I'm thinking, I know the line, but my job is to perform, and so you make it work because the song must go on. And I doubt that anyone has ever found out that I lost my line on stage. So you literally just fabricate a new line and you go ahead with it. That gentleman sitting in that corner needs to be telling you what I go through to perform. I'm the worst of them all. Beneath all of this is a very shy man, and going on stage kills me because I understand why people will pay and take their time to come and listen to me. If they will do that for me, I owe them the responsibility to perform and to give them the best that I can. And honestly, it's the biggest challenge of any artist, going on stage to go and deliver to an expectant audience. So I freeze every single time. I freeze. I freeze on television. I freeze on radio, believe it or not. But once you get on stage, you have a duty to perform, and it goes. So when people see you, they think, wow, so brave, well, we're paid to do that.
What's your haven't frozen here?
I haven't frozen hair yet. Maybe I am freezing, maybe you just don't see it. The sweat is going down there. How do I combine singing and writing? Creativity for me is it's a continuum. So I write books, I write theater works, I do film scripts, I act, I've become an actor recently. I sing. It's all part of the same process. The same story is represented on radio, on television, on stage. The same story is represented in a book, in a song, in a film, and so on. So it's pretty, to be honest, it's pretty easy to express in all of these forms and all of these formats. The only thing that I can't do is dance. And so when you hear Ibejii, it's a fact. These legs they were not made for dance. And it pains me that I can't dance, but everyone has that shortcoming. Gonto is my first release from my new project, which we're releasing in a couple of weeks, called Intermission. Gonto is a song that essentially reflects the pains that all of us felt when those people who represented us at the Lekki toll gate showed up and were harmed. I'm just going to use a tame word. Were harmed by public sector officials on October 20 last year. And Gonto was my little contribution to the NSAS debate. The message is, those who govern have a duty to the rest of us. Don't crush us, because when you crush the young, what you do is you diminish society. You diminish the space for interaction. And Gonto is just a warning. If you keep pushing those who wish to speak, if you keep pushing them into the abyss, you don't shut them down, you just create rebellion. So give them a chance. We have since released another song, Happy Me. Happy Me, again, comes from the year 2020, as many of the songs from Intermission do. Happy Me is my little license to my listeners, to my fans, my friends, that says, happiness does not rest in freedom. Happiness does not rest in your boyfriend. It does not rest in your husband. It does not rest in your children. Happiness is a state of being. You owe yourself the license to drill out happy, to give yourself the license to be happy, and then to share it with the world. So that within all of us is that capacity to say, I am worth it. And because I am worth it, because I deserve to be happy, I choose happy. So that it's again, like I say, it comes from social isolation, to social what's what social isolation to lockdown and all of this, this sort of very difficult season in which we're all essentially seeking to find ourselves again. Mental health, wellness issues. Happy Me is a license to find happy. Intermission is a 6-track project. It's a beautiful project. Please share it. Yeah, 2 of which you've already heard, Gonto and Happy Me. No, there are no collaborations on Intermission. Intermission is a solo project. It is hard. I have hundreds of songs waiting to go out. We were very deliberate in working during the, if you like, the worst season of COVID, 2020, and also the last couple of months, in saying, let us select songs that speak very directly to what we're looking to do. So if you like, they're project driven, and these 6 songs speak to 6 themes that all have a certain commonality, which is, this is a period of toughness. Intermission, the name itself, hopefully helps to explain where we are. That 2020 was a break in transmission. Nowhere in the history of man have we known the entirety of the global community experiencing the same thing at the same time in the same way. So if somebody died in Lagos in a hospital from COVID, they were shipped out from the back door and they were disposed of without the family getting the chance to perform cultural rites. The same thing happened in India, it happened in America. All of us were locked in our homes. We couldn't interact with our neighbors. Boyfriends couldn't see girlfriends. Husbands sometimes were locked on rigs and they couldn't come home to see their wives. So we all experienced the same thing. And the idea was to have these 6 songs that speak directly to the issues that we all know. It would be the mindset of the audience. I would help the audience to think a little differently about music, so that in the same way that I don't have for lunch the same sort of meal that I have for breakfast, and I have a slightly different thing for dinner, I would like to see an industry that appreciates that there is space for reflective music at certain hours of the day. So that nighttime is a season of reflection where you sort of just get mellow sound. And to the extent that it's a mellow sound, give those who create mellow sound space, yeah? We shouldn't be hearing Wizkid and Davido and those sort of artists in hours that belong to reflective sound. So the hours for sort of deflective sound, for happy sound, is 12 in the afternoon to maybe 6 p.m. at night. From 6 p.m., give us alternative musicians a chance. So if I could change anything, it would be helping radio to understand that they owe a duty to Nigerians to teach us how to listen to music better, so that we appreciate the diversity of sound that this market is already creating. It's the same thing that happens everywhere else in the world. There's no reason why we can't encourage alternative music through active and deliberate action in Nigeria. Live life to the fullest. It's a very short journey. Live it, love it, hold it. Just live it. Be you. Don't let anyone define you. Yeah? Remind them that there is only one of you. And they better appreciate who you are. But for them to appreciate you, you must first love you. Yeah? Don't give excuses for you. And don't let their judgment define you. So live more of you and just be. Yeah, that'd be my advice to a younger me.